Well, hello, I'm Therese Misner, and I'm very excited to be here as a featured artist at the gallery at Ten Oaks. I'm going to tell you about myself and a little bit about my art today. Well, art's been a part of my life since I was a child. When I was 8 years old, I actually got a sketchbook and just started drawing, and I love to draw. I could draw realistic things and just kind of went from there. I was a very kind of quiet child, kind of the artist mentality, kind of a loner in a weird kind of way. Um, my grandmother was a painter, just a hobbyist, but no one in my family really was into art or knew anything about it. We didn't really talk about art, didn't have art in our house particularly. But again, it was something I was very passionate about, it made me feel good. And then, life happens, went on. I was actually kind of thinking about art school a little bit later, but actually went into business. My family, flash forward to about 15 years ago, and I actually started painting. Okay, and I just fell in love with painting. I love everything about it. I love how it feels and creating things in the colors. And so I've painted again for about 15 years, seriously painting. And I was fortunate about 7 years into this time frame, I was able to quit my day job, my business job, and actually study art full time for about 2.5 years. And I learned the academics of art, how it reacts to a canvas, and started showing my art, started marketing myself a little bit, which is kind of hard to do as an artist, but I did, and selling art a little bit. So that's kind of how I've gotten to this point, where I have a website, and I love promoting art and other artists as well. So that's kind of my little bit of my backstory, if you will. Well, this is my show, and it's called Reflections for kind of an obvious reason to me is because during this whole COVID-19 time, I really took note of my feelings every day, and I painted a lot, if you will. And really each of the pieces behind me, I'll show you, will kind of represent my mood for that day. Okay, they're not all happy. Some of them are almost kind of prehistoric looking, but it's kind of a reflection of my feelings and what was happening in my life at the moment. And I will tell you, this piece, I've kind of gone, I don't know how to meditate. I am busy, a busy mind. So I'm trying to learn Zen a little bit in the meditation style. So I love balancing stones. So I actually have a pile of rocks at home. I make little models for these paintings. And I sit there and then I paint them and draw them and paint them. And that's how these kind of developed here. Okay. The painting right here, this kind of represents Zen and the three gems, if you will. Kind of my version of that, the pearls and meditation and Zen. Okay. These paintings right here, these two, I call this hanging by a thread, 1 and 2. Okay. And these were probably kind of the strangest times over the past 6 months, which is kind of gone like that. But I actually follow the stock market, if you will. And then it was at 30,000, and then all of a sudden it was at 18,000. That was a really dark time. That was a very difficult time when you're talking about your personal finance and everything else going on in the world. So hanging by a thread, that's where these came in right here. Okay. And then really, reflections. I use a lot of blue in this series. Blue to me is kind of like a neutral. It's very calming. Blue is kind of the color of the year, I've heard as well. I didn't know that until I started this. But blues and whites, and there's really only 3 colors in this whole palette. It's blue, white, and a yellow gold. And so I use it in a combination of many ways. So that's kind of the story of reflections and how that came about. Well, you know what? There's been a lot of things happening in the world in the last 6 months. I have been reflecting, and this is going to sound really strange, but I've been doing this for about 15 years, plus I've got my 10,000 plus hours in that it takes to succeed at something, hopefully, or learn it. So I did something very strange at the beginning of the spring. I actually burned all of my art. And people are going to say, what? All but a few pieces. I actually have a bonfire. You might see a picture come up here pretty soon. But I had a bonfire with over 50 pieces of art. And it was kind of emotional. My husband says, why are you doing this? I go, well, it's time to start over. And maybe in a strange way, this is the universe telling us to slow down and start over again. I don't know. But that's what I did. And so all the pieces here you see in the Gallery 10 Oaks are kind of my body of work right now. And I'm busy at home painting more, and I'm in a different spot right now. And so it's kind of an interesting time. So yeah, it was kind of brave. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. I hope not. Really. But it was something I just needed to do. It was really a cleanse. It was kind of like a detox. Not that the work was bad, but it's just different now. And so I feel fresh and revived and reflecting and going forward. Well, these pieces here, again, are mixed media acrylic. I use a lot of mediums that kind of build up the texture. I want people to want to come and touch my art. These pieces here are kind of different because they're sort of upcycled. I create these coasters that have a epoxy resin on them. That's quite a process to make, by the way. So I pour the resin and then I shave off the drippings on the back after they're cured. As I end up with this pile of these crystal type things, I thought I need to do something with that. And so they are actually embossed into this canvas. And so, and it kind of looks like shells or something like that for me. I also added them over here to this fun piece. I think it's fun anyway. And this fun canvas has a story. This represents a recent family member. A family member recently gave me a guitar, or a violin, excuse me. And it was literally dusty and behind some old drapes in the attic, and I just love it. Cleaned it up, it's beautiful. But this kind of represents finding music, if you will, is what I've titled this one. But I've added this texture to it as well. It's not on the violin at all. It's an old brown one. But I just love kind of creating different things. And again, you can touch it. Everything is varnished and kind of gelled in there. But that's kind of how I make my mixed media, and most of my pieces do have a lot of texture, a lot of feeling to them, if you will. Ted is really one of the best mistakes I ever made. It was an accident that happened. Okay, Ted is this cute little yellow bird here, and literally about 3 years ago, I was working on a solo show. And I was doing kind of this abstract vintage bicycle, and I thought, oh, I just need something. I was ripping up paper and I thought, oh, this looks kind of like a bird. And so that was the outline for Ted. I added a little bird, Ted, to the bicycle. Just very simple. He's a cartoon, really. I added it to a bunch of other paintings because I thought it was kind of fun. And he ended up being a hit at this show. I went to a show where I knew nobody. I stood in the back with a glass of wine, just kind of watching people, because I didn't know his soul. I heard them say, oh, I want the one with the bird. And so that's how Ted was kind of hatched or born, if you will. There's always got to be a cute girl in any story, right? So Gina came along, or excuse me, this is Sherry. There is also a little fluffy white bird called Gina, but this is Sherry, Ted's little girlfriend. And really, these are just, it's a cartoon. I've actually copyrighted Ted and his bird friends. And it's about kindness and fun and being lighthearted, if you will. Ted just kind of shows up everywhere doing everything. I get requests to have Ted doing this, this, and this. In the future, Ted might turn into a little bit more of a story. Watch for this. Might be a little family thing coming about. So watch for that to come out soon. So that's the story of Ted. Well, these tiles are so fun to make. And they're actually made with alcohol ink, which is a different kind of texture than acrylic, and it just makes these bright, vibrant colors. And so what I do is I do purchase ceramic tiles, they're white, and then I will make these abstract, these are all one of a kind, original abstract little pieces of art, I call them. And then what I do, as soon as they are completely dried and cured, I will actually put epoxy resin over them, which after about a week, when that actually cures, I flip them over. And there is actually little bubbles all along the back. I take a hot gun and I actually shave it off, and that's how I get the little crystals for the mixed media paintings I use, just whatever. But then I put a cork on the back and sign it. But these actually can be used as coasters. I wouldn't put anything scalding hot on it, but they're great for coffee, coasters, anything like that. They work just fine. So they're functional art. Thank you for allowing me to show my art in your beautiful gallery, Gallery at 10 Oaks. And I will say that art makes you happy. You know, we're going through crazy times, very unusual times, and there is psychology around looking at art can actually make you feel better. So I encourage you to visit galleries, any gallery. Of course, this gallery is beautiful, and there's many, many artists here, many different types of art. Making art for me is therapy, and I will be making more. And again, thank you for allowing me to show my art here, and thank you for watching this very fun video. Thank you.